Have you ever stood outside on a clear summer night and gazed up into the sky? If so, what did you see? Likely, what you saw was movement and life all over the place in the form of airplanes, satellites, meteors, or comets. Don't worry though, you're not the only one to let your mind wander to spaceships and aliens. In the next few minutes, I'll present evidence that aliens and spaceships aren't such a crazy idea after all. And once you hear what I have to say, you might become a believer too. I'm going to start by unveiling the sheer enormity of the universe to help us understand that the probability of an Earth-like planet is likely. Next, I'll move on to the concept of ancient aliens, visitors from thousands of years ago. And finally, I'll end with recent examples of unidentified flying objects, as seen by people around the globe. Extraterrestrial life is statistically likely, given the size of the universe. Our sun is one of sextillion stars, as estimated by NASA, the National Aeronautics Space Administration. For starters, stars provide light as a source of energy, which helps promote photosynthesis. Through this process, oxygen is created and carbon dioxide is filtered from the atmosphere by plants. Plants are then eaten by higher life forms, such as animals, fish, etc. Secondly, stars provide heat. This is important to both plants and animals for helping regulate body temperature and promote the processes that are necessary for life. And heat also helps create atmosphere through evaporation and other processes that break down minerals. Each star in and of itself has a gravitational pull, which then means that planets will orbit those stars. As mentioned, heat and light offer a chance at life on each of those planets. With sextillion stars and multiple planets possibly per star, you can imagine how many opportunities for life there are really out there in the universe. According to universetoday.com, experiments show that nearly 2/3 of known planetary systems have what's called a Goldilocks zone of conditions, meaning that conditions are perfect in that area for life on a planet. And according to a well-respected documentary show, Nova, on the public broadcasting system, our universe is in fact ever growing and may be infinitely large. It's tough for us to understand what that means, but the point is that there's a lot of opportunity for life outside of Earth. So it seems logical that given billions and billions of possibilities for life, there must be at least a handful that have developed populations of intelligent creatures. Given time on a cosmic scale, it also seems likely that intelligence may have allowed for travel to Earth. Looking at archaeology offers clues to earthly encounters with alien life thousands of years ago. To start with, massive complex structures with no explanation of how they were built offer clues to possible alien visitation. In Peru, a complex such as this, named Sacsayhuaman, has stones that weigh up to 360 tons that are cut and perfectly placed so that not even a blade of grass can fit between them. Here's an example of one of those walls. These stones are anywhere from 10 to 20 feet tall and, as mentioned, up to 360 tons each. These stones were quarried 22 miles away from where they were placed. And evidence of melting, these are granite stones, evidence of melting 3,000 degrees is shown in the stones. And here I have an example of this type of stone. This side shows no melting, whereas this side is smooth and shiny and actually exhibits a little bit of melting from friction. According to Giorgio Tsoukalos of Archaeology, Aeronautics, and CD Research Association, there are also Inca legends referring to melting rocks, supporting the idea that this may have possibly been how this was accomplished. Regardless of how it was actually done, scientists can't understand how, without modern technology, this was completed, and it lends itself to the idea that possibly aliens were involved. Another such structure is Stonehenge in England. Many of you might be familiar with this. It was built with astronomical implications, where stones actually line up with the sun at the solstice perfectly, and it may have been used to track star and planetary movement. It's also similar in physics to the Peruvian complex in that the stones are 40 to 50 tons apiece. They were moved 20 miles from the place they were quarried, and then they were hoisted atop vertical. There's capstones standing on vertical uprights that also weigh 40 to 50 tons. All of this was completed without the use of steel tools. As well, ancient archaeology lends itself to myths and legends, and throughout the world many different cultures mention flying machines thousands of years ago when we didn't have that technology. Some examples of this would be flying chariots. A lot of the gods across different cultures rode flying chariots. The Middle East has flying carpets, and there are massive terrestrial designs in Peru and across the world that are only visible, only understandable from the air. And without craft to be able to do that, the reason a culture would build that is unexplainable. The ancient evidence is compelling and mysterious, but observers have had more recent unexplained encounters. Recent sightings of UFOs lend credence to the possibility of intelligent life outside of our planet. For example, on April 5th, 2009, George Norrie of Coast to Coast AM reports simultaneous sightings in Milan, Italy, and Izmir, Turkey. The following day, after the sightings of these crafts, a 6.3 magnitude earthquake struck Italy, causing disaster, and many think it was actually a warning prior to the earthquake. A little bit closer to home, one of the most well-respected and unexplained UFO sightings actually took place right here in our capital city of North Dakota, Bismarck, in 1953. It happened over the course of 2 days, August 5th and 6th, and is known as the Ellsworth case because it originated, the craft was first seen in Ellsworth, South Dakota. It's interesting, it was a red glowing light that was sweeping back and forth across the sky. It was picked up on radar by the United States Air Force Base in Ellsworth, and they scrambled fighter jets to chase this thing down and see what it was. Too much ground clutter didn't allow for them to actually follow the craft, and it was sighted again hovering over Bismarck, North Dakota, following the same patterns. Bismarck Air Force also picked it up on radar, scrambled jets, and the same story, they were unable to follow. There are multiple United States Air Force documents that have been declassified and released recounting the story from both pilots and people on the ground. And this is considered one of the most important to date due to the documentation, the heavy documentation through the Air Force. Over the last few minutes, I've taken you on a journey showing the possibility of intelligent life outside Earth. You've been presented with a combination of evidence, including statistical probability and unexplained phenomena in ancient and recent times. So I leave you with a challenge. The next time you look to the heavens and gaze into the darkness, scan the sky and open your mind to possibilities. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the next to report a significant UFO sighting.